This video is sponsored by Curology.
What is the strangest food you've eaten?
Probably sweetbreads, which is the thymus gland. And the thing that's kind of silly about those is that, like, when well prepared, they just taste like a chicken nugget or the inside of a chicken nugget. So I would just say, instead of paying a lot of money at a fancy restaurant for sweetbreads, just eat chicken nuggets.
Ask Adam.
Hello, welcome to Ask Adam number 7. I'm here with my lovely wife Lauren over there, who is going to be putting your questions to me. Thank you to everybody on Instagram for asking them. Shall we have another? While I have my coffee.
What's your favorite English or British food?
Oh, so many. It's probably got to be a shepherd's pie, right? I mean, is there any better cold weather meal? I don't think so. And it's got to be, and I love lamb too. I love all sheep products, with the exception of wool. Well, do you wear anything with wool? Why do people use wool for clothing?
It's very, very warm.
I know, but it's so scratchy, and you can get warm cotton things.
You wear something under it.
All right. I'd rather eat the sheep than wear it. So that's great, but there's so many great things. I mean, I love like a traditional full English breakfast. I think although a lot of that might just be that I love the roasted tomato, because there aren't a lot of contexts in which you get served just a plain roasted tomato just to eat, not to be had as a sauce or something like an ingredient in something else. Just a plain roast tomato. Like a plain roast tomato is incredibly delicious. You gotta love bangers and mash. You gotta love toad in a hole. So many great foods.
I love mushy peas.
Mushy peas?
Yeah, when you get them with fish and chips and you run the French fries through the mushy peas. Oh, so good. The chips through the mushy peas, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. A chip butty. You ever heard of one of those? A chip butty? They take like white bread and they smear like butter on it, and then they just put French fries on it and then another piece of bread with butter on it, and they eat that.
That sounds delicious.
I mean, it's an interesting question, like why do the Brits have this reputation of having kind of nasty, or at least kind of uninspired food? And that's probably a topic for an entire video, but it's like multifaceted, and probably the most immediate reason for it is just like post-war scarcity and austerity, or mid-war, which is where like a lot of that kind of stuff comes from. But like, I love that stuff. It's amazing. The other thing that I love is the sponsor of this video. Thanks to Curology, the sponsor of this video, my skin, have you noticed my skin?
You're radiant.
I'm glowing. I'm glowing. So if you have skin problems, you have like blemishes or breakouts, or you're getting fine lines like I am, given that I'm barreling toward 40, Curology is something that you might want to look into. Curology is not like witch doctory, it's actual medicine. This was prescribed to me by their team of dermatological professionals. I just went on their website and I took a little skin quiz. That much?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Lauren is a skincare maven, and I have never done any kind of skincare before.
I am an enthusiast.
An enthusiast.
I watch the beauty YouTube.
So I get this free 30-day trial. You just pay $4.95 for shipping, and that's it. And you get the actual medicine. That's the stuff in the white bottle.
Two.
And then you get the cleanser and the moisturizer.
You kind of pat it into your face.
Pat.
No, like press it.
Press. And the reason that I'm doing this is not because like I have like lots of zits. Like I'm an old man. I don't get zits anymore.
Okay, first of all, a lot of people barreling towards 40 are still dealing with breakouts. We can't all have lovely Italian skin like you do.
Yes, olive, the skin straight from the olive groves. That said, like, I maybe the reason that I'm sort of, you're getting me to pay attention to skincare, part of that is that, like, I don't know, I have to like look at my dumb face in the camera all the time, and I am noticing that I'm getting older and that I have like worry lines in my forehead and stuff like that. And this kind of treatment can, slow some of the inevitable aging effects. I mean, I want to age gracefully, right? But I also don't want to look like a leather bag.
Then you better start wearing sunscreen on your face.
Yes, sunscreen, very important. So you just do this every night before you go to bed. You do the cleanser, and then you put on the medicine, and then you put on the moisturizer, and that's it. And hopefully this will help me maintain my youthful Mediterranean glow for years to come, so that the kids on the internet won't think that they're too cool for me.
I think they'll still think they're too cool for you, and potentially they are, but that's okay.
Yeah, they definitely are. So just hit the link in the description and you can get that free 30-day supply of Curology. You just pay the $4.95 for shipping and handling, and you gotta like fill out the quiz and send a picture of your skin so that they can prescribe the right thing to you. But hit that link and get that trial, and I highly recommend it. Thank you, Curology.
Why are there so few prominent women chefs in the food tube sphere?
Wow. So that's a big question, and I think we can kind of talk about lots of parts of it. It has to be acknowledged up front that like I'm part of that problem, right? I am taking up space that could be occupied on this platform by someone who isn't another one of me, right? And I was pretty conscious of that when I was working in traditional media, that like I was, you know, the outlets that I was working for did not need another one of me. And that was kind of part of the reason why I sort of like ditched that sort of normal path of advancement and started teaching, and then kind of randomly fell into this. So I have tried in my capacity here to highlight creators, female creators who are, you know, not exactly like me, who I think that you should go and watch. I've talked about Helen Rennie a lot. I've talked about Fatima's Kitchen on TikTok, which is like if there's any, you know, if there's any social media food person whose food I actually want to eat, it's Fatima's Kitchen on TikTok. Gotta check her out. I'll put the link in the description. So I've tried to do that, but I think that there are some other reasons why, you know, sort of a lot of the top food YouTubers are just, you know, dudes like me. One is you. Like, to a great extent, you're the problem, I think. Which is to say that, like, being a YouTuber or being a TikToker or anything like that, like, involves getting a lot of horrible comments and harassment and just soul-crushing things that people say to you. And when it's bad, you know, it's bad enough for like me, a grown-ass man, but like a woman, a young woman, I can only imagine the terror of that. And I would think that that would be a big disincentive to a lot of young women, especially, from getting into this. Just the creepiness alone, let alone the like abuse.
Well, and the abuse you get is different than the abuse that women get. I mean, women's abuse is sexualized and frightening and targeted in a way that, like, people will come into your comment section and say you're stupid, or, you know, they'll be like, oh, you're gay or whatever, and it's just like, grow up. Yeah, but with women, it's a lot more frightening. And it's, I mean, frankly, it's the reason why I'm sitting off camera right now. Like, I'm a grown-up and I can shake it off, but also I don't want to have to shake it off, so I just avoid it. That's how I cope, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. So that's one way in which it's your fault, in my opinion.
Let me be clear. Not you, the question asker,
Yes,
whose username is now on the screen.
Well, maybe that person is a horrible troll. We don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, you know, I think they're asking in good faith, and I think it's a valid question.
I'm sorry, I need some salt for my coffee. It's amazing how effective salt is at knocking the bitter notes off of black coffee. You should try it. A little pinch. So another way in which I think it's, you know, all our collective fault is that we have to remember that, like, if YouTube isn't surfacing the kind of content that you want to see, it's not like the kind of old days of traditional media where, like, you can blame some cigar chomping executives who are, you know, making decisions about who we should put on primetime television, and, like, you know, you can blame them for making what you believe are the wrong decisions. You know, something like YouTube, the algorithm, TM, you know, we don't understand it in all of its mysteries, but, like, the one thing that YouTube will tell you, and that I think is self-evidently true, is that it is chiefly just a feedback loop. Oh, I lost my microphone. The algorithm, TM, is a feedback loop. Whatever people watch gets watched more because the algorithm basically just sort of causes the snowballing effect. So more views mean more of the algorithm picking it up and putting it in front of other people's eyeballs, right? So if you don't watch it, YouTube is not going to surface it for other people. So that's not just if you want to see more female food creators or anything, right? It's about what you watch. And in that sense, I think that all of us need to, shoulder more responsibility for what gets surfaced and doesn't. It's chiefly about our demonstrated preferences.
And if you're looking for more female, food YouTube creators, go Google top female food,
Sure.
top women on food YouTube. Somebody has curated that list for you. Go follow them and watch them,
Yeah.
and then YouTube will serve you more.
And I'm linking some of my favorites in the description here. Now, the last factor that I will discuss that is much more directly self-critical is that it's like it does take a certain typically male audacity to presume that you should be making instructional content for other people, right? A certain thing that like men, at least in sort of Western civilization, are conditioned to feel entitled to the notion that they know things that other people need to know, and I'm certainly a part of that phenomenon. And that's not a good thing, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Save me.
I'm just going to push your boat out into the water and let you float.
I mean, fundamentally, what I would say is that like I really had stepped back. Like I started teaching because I knew that no one needed more of this in their lives, right? And I did not intend to have this career. It kind of happened accidentally. And that doesn't mean I had to like ride the ride once the ride was offered to me by Providence, and I did, and I take responsibility for that. But on the other hand, like, it chose me, you chose me. And so if you want to choose someone other than me, do that. Choose someone in addition to me, please. But again, Fatima's Kitchen TikTok, oh my God, like you got to go there and check her out. Her food is just amazing.
What are some staple ingredients you have in your home kitchen at all times?
So certainly canned tomatoes at all times. And let me talk about this. Why canned tomatoes, right? People ask me this a lot. Like, why you wouldn't use like canned green beans or canned squash or something, right? Like, why would you use canned tomatoes? Well, there's actually like a pretty, clear reason for that, which is that modern grocery store fresh tomato varieties have been bred for hardiness so that they will arrive at your grocery store unblemished and unsquished. Like a tomato is a naturally very delicate thing in a way that a green bean isn't. Green beans get worse after they're picked too, but it's not like a tomato, like a real fresh heirloom tomato is incredibly difficult to deliver to the grocery store unsquished, okay? So what you're getting when you buy fresh tomatoes in the store are like things that have had, they probably didn't try to breed all the flavor out of them, but it's just incidental that when they were breeding them to be tough, right? They lost like all their flavor. So canned tomatoes are varieties that do not have to be intact and cosmetically perfect by the time you see them, right? Because they get peeled and then put in the can and they're squished and pushed around and potentially even ground or crushed before you even ever see them, right? So the ones in the cans are, or at least can be, much more delicate but flavorful varieties. And it's also the case that, like, what do you do with canned tomatoes? You generally, like, cook them and squish them anyway, in which case, like, the fact that they're already kind of wet and squished and partially cooked, because remember, canning process always involves some amount of cooking, doesn't really matter, right? Whereas, like, with, green beans, most people want like al dente green beans, right? And you're not going to be able to get those from a can. You're not going to be able to get the experience of a fresh tomato from a can either, but that's not what you want. like a lot of the time when you eat tomatoes, right? Like half the time you eat tomatoes, you want to make a sauce or a stew kind of situation with them, in which case canned tomatoes are fine. So for all of these reasons, canned tomatoes are fantastic. And it's not just San Marzanos that are great anymore. Like there's so many good varieties out there that are really high quality. I would, not a paid endorsement, but Muir Glen, the maker that they're growing in the San Joaquin Valley in California. And those things are amazing. Is it San Joaquin or is it San Joaquin? I don't know. I'm gonna go with San Joaquin.
I think that's correct.
Thanks. Okay. And so canned tomatoes, number one, always don't get caught without them.
Anything else?
I feel like that's a long enough answer.
I feel like you did a whole TikTok there on canned tomatoes.
Well, I did just do a TikTok on canned tomatoes, but that was the long version.
Oh.
I will say, one of the things that I have found really great about being on TikTok and having to post, because I'm part of the TikTok partner program, right? So like TikTok pays me, right, to post 5 a week or something like that, for 20 a month, something. And one of the things that's like great about that, and I think has really made my YouTube channel better, is that it allows me to kind of test stuff out, put out a short piece of content, look at the comments and see what people are asking about, they're confused about, maybe a way that I said something is confusing, or there's an important thing that I left out, or maybe I just made a bad argument, right? And they help me understand the flaws of the argument, right? I have found that to be tremendously useful. And so like the riff that I just did on canned tomatoes includes a whole bunch of information that people are asking about on my TikTok right now because I didn't say it in the TikTok. And part of that is that just TikToks have a maximum of 60 seconds. I can't fit everything in. But it's also just that like, that's sort of a more immediate medium, and I can kind of work out bugs on TikTok and get them cleaned out before you see them.
What's been the most challenging part of your YouTube career so far?
Certainly at first it was dealing with commenters. And
you're both a sensitive person and a naturally combative person. And
Yes.
so those two things combined made it very hard for you.
do not go well together, those things. And so like a lot of people say that like there's a narrative out there that like, oh, the reason Adam Ragusea used to flip his lid at commenters is because he was a professor, and so he was used to like never having his authority challenged and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I've been like this my entire life on the internet, man. Like, and you can
That's so true.
you can go back, like look at my very early work, long before I ever had a captive audience of tuition-paying kids, and I was always somewhat pugnacious, shall we say, with commenters. So that was tough, but I've pretty well moved past that. I don't really engage or even look very much anymore. So what's tough now is like nothing. I mean, it's the best job ever. It's tough in the sense that it's very labor-intensive work, and I have chosen, and I think I've decided that, like, at least for the foreseeable future, I don't want to bring anyone else into my creative process. I don't want to hire a video editor. Those of you who keep like offering your services as a video editor, thank you very much. I'm sure that you would be awesome. I'm sorry. It's just for me, I feel like
Adam is a one-man band.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to get him to let me assist him. Like, he is very much a lone wolf.
And part of it is just that like I feel like it would take so much effort to coordinate with another human that I'm not even sure it would be worth it, right? Like there's so many things I can do with sort of a shorthand because I know that I'm the only one who's going to deal with it. Like I don't have to kind of leave. Like if I was going to shoot for someone else to edit, I would have to be much more intentional about certain things and making it clear, this is what I used that, this is what I intended this shot for, this is how I intended it to be used, blah, blah, blah. Or it could just be that I'm terrible at working with other people, right? Maybe that's true. I mean, like I think I work well with other people in the context of like, I've worked at companies and I think been a pretty good coworker. I'm not good at working on actual project level work, collaborating on a single made object with another human. I've never been good at that. And so I think that would be tough. And it's also, I believe that I think that one of the things that you like about this is that it is sort of rugged and handmade, and it's just a guy in his kitchen with a camera and not like a whole crew, which is not to disparage those people doing this who have crews, because they're doing wonderful stuff and a lot of them get way more views than I do, so they're obviously doing something right. But I kind of think that, one of the things that's good about what I do is that, or Chef John too, is that it's just Chef John and his camera, right? And there's an authenticity to that is really special. I love that.
I think both things are good, but they are different things. What is your methodology for finding scholarly articles and acquiring research for your Monday videos? As someone that hates doing research, this fascinates me.
Sure. So, to a certain extent, it's just doing research of any kind, but especially looking at scholarly sources. It's kind of like developing your palate for food, right? Nothing can replace experience of simply just having dealt with all kinds of sources for a long time and just developing a sense of what is reputable and what's not. And there's really nothing that can replace just time and experience in that sense. But in terms of looking at scholarly sources, the first thing to do is to kind of well, actually, here's a really good trick. If you are at a university or a big company that has an institutional account for a product called Web of Science, which is just sort of a search tool for scholarly research, oh my God, use that. It's amazing, because one of the things that it does is that it's really good at kind of showing you it's surfacing widely cited research, that is research that hasn't just been published in some journal somewhere, because all kinds of crazy stuff gets published, but surfacing stuff that has been published and then cited by other authors, right, which is sort of a validating step, and showing you exactly how much it has been cited, and then showing you where it has been cited, which is a thing you always have to check, because sometimes things get cited not because they're good, but because they're bad, and there's all kinds of methodological problems with it that other writers are saying, oh my God, don't ever do this. Now, to a certain, the worst stuff tends to get retracted by the journal, right? And that's one of the advantages of looking at stuff that's published in actual professional journals as opposed to self-published research. A disadvantage of looking at stuff that's published in reputable professional journals is that it's often not free. And again, if you're at a university or something, you probably have free access to a whole lot of scholarly journals. Learn how you can access that via your library or your library's website. But for me, I just pay for it, because you have been kind enough to provide me with a really great living here, and so I feel like if anyone's going to actually pay for this stuff, it's going to be someone like me, so I just pay for it, right? But that's a barrier that you might have.
Public libraries can also help you with
some
of
God,
those
yes,
things
yes,
as well. So.
yeah, public libraries, dear God. Google Scholar is a great place to start. It's generally going to only surface pretty recent research for you. But it's good at kind of, and it'll definitely surface a lot more kind of open access journals, that is kind of free journals, or places where the scientists themselves have published their work. Even if it's already published in a professional paywall journal, they might just put it on their own website or on ResearchGate or something like that. So Google Scholar is a great place to start, but you can't stop there. A lot of stuff is not on Google Scholar. But I feel like I'm leaving out all kinds of things. I mean, look for actual bibliographies that librarians have made. That's a thing that research librarians do, is they assemble bibliographies or lists of sources with annotations on a specific topic. You can find that all over the place. Find an article, a good article that's on the topic that you want, and then look at its works cited and trace backwards. That's why those footnotes and stuff are there, right? And then the really big one is Wikipedia, for God's sake. Don't denigrate it just because it's a secondary source. Just look at the primary sources it cites. Go down to the cited works and examine those sources directly before you judge the Wikipedia article.
Would you consider doing a video? Oh wait, no, sorry. Oh, this is interesting. You can cut this out. But it's somebody doing a video on, quote, starvation foods in various countries, i.e. Spam, haggis, black pudding, corned beef, etc.
Wow, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just like, I mean, those are all like, starvation foods is a little rough because those are all really good foods, but like actual things that people have eaten under really, really severe deprivation, like grasses and mosses and stuff that people have resorted
also
to.
Things that people that were traditionally, quote unquote, like poor people food that now are suddenly like chefs are bringing back and making fancy versions of, but like Spam is great. Haggis is excellent.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
Cool. Okay. How does your family, friends, former coworkers feel about your YouTube career? Honestly, most people they don't care. I mean, they're like, "Oh, that's nice for you."
Yeah.
But
So yeah, most people don't care that much, right? Like, well, at least they don't. They say they don't. Among like my friends and former colleagues who are like media people who are, they came from the worlds that I worked in. At least what they tell me is that my story is very inspiring to them in a way that like gives them happiness and hope, right? The idea that, especially for journalists whose work has been so profoundly devalued by the marketplace, and all of my friends have been laid off at least once. I think that they derive some hope from seeing that like journalism skills are valuable and applicable in places that aren't, just newspapers or whatever, right? And so I've been told by a lot of people exactly that it gives them kind of hope and inspiration, and I feel good about that. I'm sure some of them also just hate me, and
sorry,
and I understand.
What I think is most interesting about this, and as a person who watches, YouTube or TikTok or whatever, there are people that in your mind you're like, well, that person's really famous and well known, and look at their 1 million subscribers or more. But that's just amongst their niche audience, and most people are like, who now? Huh?
Yeah, exactly. yeah, that's the thing. I mean, internet fame is very different from real fame, and for that I'm grateful. God, I find internet fame to be unpleasant enough in a lot of respects. But like, God, real fame, that would just be miserable, The money would be cold comfort, I think.
Yeah, that's why when people are like, do you think Adam's ever going to get a Food Network show? I'm like, I kind of hope not.
Yeah.
This level of fame is great.
Yeah, I will say, it's like people say that a lot, like, when is this man going to get his own show? And I'm like, I have a show. Secondly, like, yeah, I can't, I'm not saying that, like, if you have a business proposal, please get in touch with Colin West, my representation. But I can't imagine any gig being better than this. What is better than this? I get to do exactly what I want, whenever I want, for as long as I want, and enough people watch it for me to A, feel like I'm having a positive impact in the world, and B, to make a good living. So what's better than this? Like, it ain't broke, don't fix it. Good Lord.
My mom did used to look every day to see your numbers climb higher, and she was very excited when you got to 1 million. And then after 1 million, she was like, well, what am I going to do now?
We're still waiting for 1,234,567. That's going to be the big benchmark. That's when the party is gonna pop off, let me tell you. So hit that sub button. Thank you.
All right, so I had to pick this question.
Oh, did you? You had to. You just had to.
It's not a bad question.
Oh, okay.
You're going to love it. What tips would you have to dress up s'mores? Since the pandemic started, my roommates and I have been obsessive about s'mores, going so far as to make them completely homemade. We would love to see your theory on how to properly roast a marshmallow over a fire or in a standard oven or pressure cooker. And I picked this because what you all don't know about Adam is that s'mores is perhaps his favorite flavor profile.
Yeah.
And that whenever there is a s'mores flavored anything, I always buy it so we can try it.
Yeah.
He's almost always disappointed because the marshmallow flavor is never forward enough.
Yeah.
It's always just graham and chocolate. But yeah, so talk about s'mores.
Sure, yeah, love them. And that's a whole, I mean, this is a video that I want to do is like, why is there a marshmallow flavor? Like there shouldn't be, it's just sugar. And yet there's something more specific about it. And yeah, it's gelatin, but I don't think you can actually taste gelatin. I don't think there's any perceivable taste compounds in gelatin. That's purely a textural component. So why does I mean, there is like a marshmallow taste. There's a thing. What is that? I don't understand it. Similar with like cotton candy or just lots of candy things that seem to have flavors even though they're just sugar. What's up with that? I'm really curious about that. But yeah, absolutely love s'mores. I think I could do like a s'mores video. That seems like a good thing to do out on the fire on a crisp winter night. So I'll work on that. I don't have any particular theories for you. It's cool. I guess it sounds like maybe you're making the graham crackers yourself, which that's another video I need to do is like graham crackers. Like what the hell is that? Who was Graham? That's a really weird story. But you're making them from scratch. That sounds like fun. I imagine you're not conching your own chocolate. The most obvious thing would be to simply experiment with different kinds of chocolate beyond just the kind of traditional Hershey bar, though I love the traditional Hershey bar. Certainly you could, the issue is that it's already not a very structurally sound thing. And so you can't be putting like very wet things in there or things that are going to melt and
That's why Reese's cups are good in there.
Yeah, Reese's cups would be great. That's a great idea.
Because peanut butter and marshmallow already goes together in a fluffernutter.
Yeah, and there's I don't know if they're still on the market, but they were for a while. Reese's was making thin Reese's cups. Those would probably be great inside a s'more. It is funny when I talk about like Hershey's chocolate on the internet and I get so many just snobby Europeans being like, ew, American chocolate. Like, I don't know what accent that was. I think that was John Cleese being a Frenchman. They get all snobby about it. Although, by the way, they'll often say, you got to get some Galaxy chocolate. I mean, that's the real shit. Brits will say that a lot. Guess what? Galaxy is American. It's Dove. It's Dove chocolate from Chicago, Illinois. This is rebranded as Galaxy in Europe. Sorry, anyways.
Also, everyone in Europe really likes the cookies and cream Hershey bar.
Yes, exactly. There's two things that Europeans will say will grudgingly say they love about American chocolate making, which is the Hershey's cookies and cream bar and Reese's cups. And legit, like a Reese's cup is a fine confection. Like if you got that like artisan handmade from some shop, like you would think, oh my God, this is one of the greatest things ever, and it is. Even when it's not from an artisan handmade shop. It's just one of the greatest desserts ever.
I'd argue it's better when it's like anytime you get like an organic fancy Reese's cup. It's never as good as the sort of gritty interior.
Gritty
what is that? It's so good.
Surely it's partially just sugar crystals, right? Mm-hmm. It might also be salt. I mean, the saltiness of it is so much of what makes it. That salty peanut butter. I should see if they would let me do a video about that. See how many of the trade secrets they'd tell me.
I'm going to guess none.
Well, surely someone has reverse engineered it, right? There's got to be like copycat recipes for Reese's cups out there.
I don't know. There's no comparable, like competing chocolate company who's made a good version of a Reese's cup. Like Reese's cups stand alone.
Yeah. Anyway, I bet Nutella would be good in a s'more too. But I'll do a s'mores video. Thank you.
Oh, this is another one that might be a video, but I don't know. How do we think... Oh, and I suggested this to you the other day.
Yes.
How do we think of blue as a flavor, and what flavor is it really? I.e. blue Gatorade, blue snow cone. I just want to know who was the first person to deem something blue raspberry.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty... I think we can make a pretty solid guess at that. Basically, it was just that red was already taken by cherry... And what other candy flavors might be cast as red? Strawberry, yeah. And watermelon potentially, right?
That's pink.
So pink, okay. There's just too many red fruits. And so when some candy maker wanted to introduce a raspberry flavor to their lineup, and they were like, well, how do we color this to make it distinct? They were like, what's left? Because there is no blue food, right? Blueberries aren't blue, they're purple. There's no blue food. So
Is there really no blue food?
Can you think of
blue
anything?
Blue cheese. Ha!
Yeah.
Bring me all the blue cheese flavored gummy bears in the land.
Right. And even then, I don't know. I haven't really like looked
It's
at
blue.
the fungus in blue cheese.
It's
and
blue.
Is it really
Sometimes
blue?
it's green, but is also for sure blue.
Okay. That may be it. I mean, like legit. So surely that's historically how blue raspberry happened.
By the way, I look forward to a cascade of comments of people telling you about blue foods in this video because I know they're coming.
All right.
And blueberries are blue.
Hey, friends of DeSoto, please no comments about Klingon food. They'll know what that means.
Anyway, I think you should do a video about
That's great. Love the
who was
idea.
the first person
Yeah.
who was like blue raspberry.
I mean, 'cause
and it
there's-
will be sour and kind of cut your tongue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those videos that I kind of want to do as soon as we can. It's safe to like travel again, and people from Georgia are allowed other places, because there's there's this section of the New Jersey Turnpike where like the birth of the artificial flavor industry was like right along there, and that to this day there's still all of these plants along the New Jersey Turnpike making like half of the artificial flavorants that are used in the industry worldwide, something like that. It's all still there, and it's why like you get some really weird smells if you open up your window.
I feel like there's a metaphor in artificial flavoring coming from New Jersey.
Yeah,
I bet Bruce Springsteen has already written
guess
into
so.
a song
It's-
somewhere.
Unironically, New Jersey was the cradle of a whole lot of the 20th century's innovations, and 19th century. I mean, where was Thomas Edison? You know,
Respect to New Jersey.
respect to New Jersey.
What's your process for finding out what you want to order at a new restaurant? Do you just have a preferred dish and order that restaurant's variant, or do you read the entire menu to see what catches your eye?
So the first thing I think you always want to try to figure out is like, is there a dish that, you know, what is this restaurant known for? Like, what is their jam, you know? And generally it's like, that isn't even really, if you go to a nice place these days, they're kind of not going to put anything on the menu that isn't their jam. But it certainly used to be, I mean, when we were kids, restaurant culture was still pretty different, and it was still, you know, the early days of the modern restaurant industry were all about offering you the maximum amount of variety, and that was what was cool about going out to eat at Delmonico's or one of the really kind of early modern restaurants, was that the menu had hundreds of items on it and you could have whatever you wanted, as opposed to eating at home or someone else's house where like you could only have the one thing, the one pheasant that they made that night, right, is what everyone was going to eat, the one bowl of risotto that everyone is going to eat. That was what was novel about going to a restaurant, is you get anything, right? And I think some of that was still around when we were kids. I remember restaurants having just way too much stuff on the menu, and like half of it would be frozen, right? And I feel like the restaurant industry has matured so much over the course of my lifetime, to the point where like nice places have much shorter menus and they're only putting on there what they're good at. But within that, I still would kind of be like, ask a server, like, what is the thing? What are they known for here? What do they do really, really well? You know, what's the thing I can get here that I can't get elsewhere? And a lot of that would be like looking at like local products and seeing what they have on the menu that is from nearby. And then after that, I would just kind of, it's a different variation of the same question, like what can I, assuming that everything here is like the chef's special and it's all local and blah, 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 what can I get here that I can't make easily for myself at home or get at just any other restaurant? And that will generally kind of guide me.
This is why Adam, never orders pasta at a restaurant.
Yeah, never.
And we basically never go to Italian restaurants.
I would love to go to a big sloppy, New Jersey red sauce Italian place again. And that's something that's on my to-do list when the pandemic is over, for sure. I mean, I will get pasta like it has to be like a really nice place.
And they're for sure making the pasta fresh.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, someone just making dried pasta. I mean, no knock against dried pasta. Dried pasta is amazing. I mean, it's arguably better than fresh pasta in many ways. But I feel there's absolutely no reason to order it from a restaurant. Like, you can do it just as well yourself at home, and it'll be way cheaper. A nice fresh pasta from a really good restaurant, I'll order that for sure.
So I picked this last question because we can sort of look to the future and have some hope, which I think we're all starting to need but also feel.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing a food tour outside the U.S. maybe after COVID?
Oh my God, I'm so excited because it's like, you know, I think I've said this before, but like my plan when I quit my university job was to like do like every other video would be on the road. It would be somebody, hey buddy, can you go out in the living room for a second? We're almost done. No, he says.
Do you want a snack?
He says. Okay, bye. We'll be done in just a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need to?
Do you need anything? Oh, no. You can't come in here because you might trip.
I think he's trying to get the party blower. You can get it.
Do you want the blower?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, as long as you're not in the shot, you can be here. Okay. Go ahead. You can take it. Okay.
It's COVID, so
yeah.
we got kids at home during the day.
Bye. Yeah, that's exactly. He wanted the party blower. That's what he wanted. He's going.
Cool.
Yeah. It was Lauren's birthday last night. Happy birthday, Lauren.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, like I don't think that my cooking is that interesting or worth learning about. Like I really wanted like certainly every other recipe video to be someone else's recipe, and I wanted to be traveling around gathering awesome stuff, you know. And then this happened. So I want to get back to that kind of concept as soon as possible. You know, it's looking like, you know, we could get vaccinated as soon as, you know, in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm hoping next summer we can start going out and doing more things.
Yeah, it's great. And by the way,
everyone should get vaccinated.
For God's sake, get vaccinated. And also, for God's sake, all the people who are not in the United States who leave shitty comments about how dumb Americans are and like, yeah, America's got like a lot of problems and our government especially is particularly dumb at the moment. But where did the vaccine first get developed? Who was first to finish it?
Oh, don't
Two American companies, okay?
Didn't the Oxford vaccine get finished at the same time?
Like around the same time, but it was, I think it was third.
Okay. Don't be a jerk. What I want to say is that, you know, Adam and I will for sure be getting the vaccine.
Yes.
And we encourage you to get vaccinated if you are medically able.
Yes.
And we will get vaccinated for the people who are not medically able.
Yes. Bill Gates is not trying to put a microchip in your brain.
Also, he already knows
care about your brain.
And if he wants to know anything about you, he'll
He already
read all
knows.
the comments you've put
Like,
on this here internet.
Good Lord, he already knows. Okay, please. For
Is this
God's
video
sake-
going to get demonetized for COVID information?
I don't think so. Just get vaccinated for God's sake, so we can all get back to things. And yeah, so kind of, you know, my plan is to sort of travel to a place. And bank a crap ton of material. You know, I'll just go to Mexico City and get, you know, material for 20 videos, you know, and then roll those out over some great length of time. Because I can't be like traveling once a week like we have a family, right? But I can be traveling maybe once a month and banking a bunch of material. And there's so many things I want to do.
We would love to accompany you on many of those trips.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, just like road trip stuff around the U.S. that we haven't been able to do.
know.
I mean, we live, you know, I would love to go to Texas and do some barbecue and some, you know, Southwest Tex-Mex videos. And
one of the good things about the United States is business expenses are tax deductible. That is, you're not taxed on the income that you then spent on the business expense. And this is a totally justifiable business expense. I mean, this is how I make my living. And you definitely pay me enough to spend a lot of money on travel and get more cool stuff for cool videos for you. So like, I'm just thrilled to just do what comes natural. I mean, we love Scotland and I can't wait to go to Scotland and do like a Scotch whiskey, how it's made kind of thing. People have asked if I could do Worcestershire sauce. Worcester sauce.
I love Worcestershire. Speaking
however
of
you say
shepherd's
it.
pie.
Right, speaking of shepherd's pie.
Load that up with Worcestershire.
I will say that like that's a trade secret and they will only tell you so much, but they might show me some. Although actually, you know that most of it for the American market is made at a factory in New Jersey. So maybe
because isn't it made by Kraft?
I don't think so.
I feel like there's a maybe it's not But one of the brands that everybody buys at the grocery store in
Mondelez
America.
might have acquired it. I don't know. Anyways, so I could just go to New Jersey to do that video, but it still requires travel, right? So all of that, there's so many exciting things to do. There's like things that aren't just, specifically like food or food production related, but are more kind of culture related. Like I want to do a video about how the Norman conquest affected how we talk about food and food words in the English language, and I would love to go to Normandy to do that video. All kinds of fun stuff. So get excited and just get the damn shot, for God's sake, when it's available.
All right. Well, that was the last question. Is there anything else that you wanted to add over the din of cartoons coming from the iPad?
Just stay healthy, keep wearing your mask, and help is on the way. And thanks for watching.
Thank you.